Hi, I'm Steve Ziskowski, the founder of Caerusnet, and today on the Caerusnet podcast, I'm joined by Heidi Kussurelis. She's the owner of the Heidi Kussurelis Insurance Agency in downtown Ann Arbor, and I'm also very grateful that she's a 5-year plus Caerusnet veteran member. She's been on my Ann Arbor 1 o'clock group and has been just a solid fixture on that team really since the first day she got there. In addition to that, she also has, I think, around 4 other associates from her agency in different Caerusnet teams. So she's big into networking, big into referrals. Heidi Kussurelis, thanks so much for joining us on the Caerusnet podcast. I've really been looking forward to this.
Thank you, Steve. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so let's jump straight into you and talk about your insurance agency. I would love to learn just a little bit more and have you educate our audience about when you got started and your approach to this big, gigantic thing called insurance.
Well, great. I started the agency in 1996, so that's almost like 26 years ago. And when I started as a scratch agency, which means that I had no clients whatsoever when I opened my doors. So, my approach when I just started, it was pretty much me doing everything, selling, servicing, marketing. And I pretty much telemarketed to build my book of business, which was calling from morning till night. I worked 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. Monday through Friday. I worked every Saturday, 9 to 1. I worked constantly, but I grew the book of business. But now coming up 25 years, 26 years later, I have a different approach. And insurance is complicated, and many people are unaware of the consequences of having inadequate insurance. And so my approach is to have a really highly trained team that can help build relationships with clients, to spend time with their training that they have to help a client see gaps in their coverages, customize their policy to the needs that they have, and building those long-term relationships, which then hopefully in the end, the customer feels that they have peace of mind knowing that they have a good team behind them and a policy that's going to cover them in the event of a loss.
Well, one of the things that I really enjoyed about what I just heard is that you worked your bones off when you started your agency, because you did start it from scratch. You had to go find your first client and then go find more clients. And I'm sure that that was an incredible amount of work, and you had to be very driven to make that happen. One of the benefits, I'm sure, is that you learned every facet of the business, and it makes it so you can relate to your employees and the people in your office and the things that they have to go through, because you've done them all yourself. You just didn't walk into an agency that had all the employees that you had, that had all the processes in place. You had to be the person to make all of that happen. But you also talked about, telemarketing and doing all that other stuff. So at some point, this drive and this feeling about being a fixture in your community, being a trusted resource in your own community, and maybe getting out there and developing relationships and referrals and that sort of stuff kind of got important to you. Maybe you can share a little bit with us about relationship marketing and how you build your business that way now.
Yeah, well, certainly, you're right. You learn a lot by starting a business from scratch. And there's lots of things you kind of try and you see what works. And it's just can be the smallest change on how you say something can move a sale along or stop a sale from happening. So you're right. You learn a lot. Now, granted, some of actually my best clients that I have that I still have today from, when I started the agency was from telemarketing, because it's not easy. I mean, now there's all these laws against the telemarketing, but, it was the same thing. People would hang up on you. They wouldn't be, they didn't really want to be telemarketed. But if you could get to that point where a person was willing to speak with you and you could work through the information and build that relationship, that really builds a strong foundation. But that's obviously very difficult. It's much more fun to be part of a like Caerusnet group, a networking group where you're meeting people in the community, and they're giving you referrals, which are warm leads, which is much easier than doing cold calling. And then on top of it, you're getting a more focused client. Personally, my agency is not about shoppers or someone who's letting their insurance lapse and just getting their insurance to get their auto ID cards. I want long-term client relationships. So you have to find clients that believe that there's value in what my agency and my staff members or team members are providing. So definitely being in a networking group is a tremendous help, because I can be very specific on what I'm looking for with the members of my group.
Yeah, the other thing that's wonderful too is that as you develop relationships with your own clients, and they start to become like client/friends, where you care about each other, you start to ask maybe questions that you might not ask somebody that you didn't really know as well, and you become a resource to those clients too, where they see you not just as their insurance person, but also somebody that is a resource that they can say, hey Heidi, I'm looking for a good referral to a mortgage lender. We're thinking about moving, or they might mention moving to you, and then you can bring up, well, hey, if you need help in any aspect of that, from real estate agent you choose to who you do your mortgage lending with, to whatever it might be, if you don't have somebody you already love that you want to work with, let me make an introduction for you. And I think that those things really solidify that you care beyond the transaction, that there's really a client on the other side of the transaction that is a relationship with you. And I think that that's super admirable for how you approach your team. So let's talk about the Ann Arbor 1 O'Clock group. You've been on that group for a while, like I said, 5+ years. And I know you've got a lot of success stories for people that you have wonderful referral relationships with. And you've been on the team long enough that you probably have some of those relationships with people that might not be on the team anymore, in relationships, obviously, with people that still are on the team. So you get this kind of nice blend of relationships that came through Caerusnet. But maybe you could just share a success story, one that just kind of stands out to you a little bit. And I'm not going to lead you at all. If you've got a success story you wouldn't mind sharing, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I have a ton of success stories with the networking groups, being part of networking groups. But you were right, especially with the business I'm in, we talk to a lot of people that are at all different points in their life. Some people buying new homes, some people selling, some people business owners who are just starting out that need help and to grow their business. So we have so many different contacts. I mean, right now, currently, a very great relation I have is with a mortgage broker, Sherry Good. She and I have worked really well together with clients that are buying a new house, and I'm able to help them with the insurance, and vice versa. I have had clients who need a home equity line of credit, or they've or I find out that a person's going to be buying a house and I get her in front of them right away. So that has been a great working relationship. But, I've had clients and neighbors who've had issues, like one woman's back was out and I said, you need to go to this chiropractor right now. You're in so much pain. Painters, especially when people have damage to their home, we can refer them to a painter or a contractor that's in the group. And then just some of the personal things. I love some of the products that I've come in contact with because of meeting people in the group. Carl Gunderson's no longer in the group, but he has some nutritious supplement type things that I just really like. And there's some other products, there's creams and, all the serums I need for my face that I've been able to purchase that I actually love, and I would never even come in contact with them without being in the group. So both ways.
Yeah, Yeah, and that's something that I enjoy hearing as well too, and it's pretty common because when people first go to Caerusnet, most of the time we don't know anybody on the team. Maybe the person that invited us, maybe me, the facilitator, but then there's all these new relationships to start getting into, right, and to start developing. And when you are open to allowing things to kind of naturally progress, and we're open and interested in other people on the team and what it is they have to offer. I know for myself, one of the biggest successes that I have is that my clients, members like you, have magically delivered to me almost every single time I've needed something. If it wasn't in Caerusnet at the time, like within a week or two, that person is in front of me and they were referred to me, and I'm like, my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. I've been looking for someone just like you for myself as well too. So I could never like sell Caerusnet to somebody based on, oh well, you're going to meet a bunch of great people, some that might become lifelong friends, and you're going to be in the know when it comes to what's new in the world and what's exciting, because that's the other thing that happens in the group, is that we're in the know because we're getting information from everybody that's that resource from their industry, right? And so yeah, I mean, it is beautiful because I've got a Beamer. I'm having lunch with Carl when I'm going to be in town next week. So these relationships just live on and they keep giving, regardless of whether it's the perfect time for somebody to still be in the network or not, because it's not always.
That's true. And I'll be honest, I had to do something the other day that I needed a marketing piece, and there was nobody in our group that did it. And I think I reached out to you or went to the website. I was able to find someone, talk to them. I didn't know them, but because they were in Caerusnet, it was a need that I had and was able to get it solved. So that was great.
Well, I really appreciate you turning to Caerusnet to see if there's somebody in there that can be a good resource for you. Generally, the results are great. Generally people are really trying to do good by each other. So I appreciate you doing that. Well, let's kind of jump towards the last part of our interview. And again, I really appreciate your time today to be able to go through all of this. I've got, this is kind of a two-part question for you. And if you need me to repeat the other part after you answer the first part, no problem. But let's talk about, because I look at you as somebody who might be a little further ahead, perhaps, than the normal person that joins a Caerusnet team. I would say about half or less of the new members that join Caerusnet have never done any sort of structured networking, have never been on a team. They've never done any of that stuff. And then the other half has. They've been a part of something else, and they're interested in Caerusnet because it sounds like something that would meet their objectives. So this is a two-part question. First question is, what is the best advice that you have for a new member starting out? And it can be anything from their expectations to how they conduct themselves. I'll let you answer that question. And then I'll come back with part two, which is advice to members that might be burning out or getting a little stale. So let's talk about question one. What advice might you have for new members?
Okay, so for new members, I think the training, Steve, that you do at the beginning, and it might sometimes seem like, oh yeah, everybody knows this, but really listen to the education, because if you can get a piece out of that and try it, like get that aha moment, like, oh, I understand it, but do you really understand it? And really kind of push yourself out of your box to try new things. The second thing I would say, which could go towards people that might be burning out as well, is that giving referrals, I think a lot of people have this mind block that they're bothering people, and that people like, oh, I don't want to push this person on them. And I really feel like this is really internal. It's our issue, not the person that you have this referral for. People don't feel that way. I think, ultimately to give a referral, you just do an email introduction and just say to a person, like, I really think this person could help you? Would you like me to send you some contact information? And then when you send the email, include the person that you want to refer to this person, and give the contact information, and let the Caerusnet member take care of it on their own, because nobody is going to be pushy. I've never heard of a bad experience with a customer saying, oh my God, this person won't stop calling me. If someone says they're not interested, people will stop. But give the opportunity to the member in the group. I think that you will be pleasantly surprised how it turns out. The other member is going to appreciate you so much, and they're going to see that you're trying, and you're going to see the success where your customer is going to be happy, your friend that you referred, because they're going to get services that they need. So that's
I think those are great pieces of advice. And another good one that I've heard too, one of the members of my Brighton Wednesday 10 o'clock group, he's really, really vocal about the members in the group using each other's services. And, you know, I toe a fine line between that, because I don't want people on these teams to feel like I must buy from people on the team, or I'm like a traitor, or I'm betraying the trust in people. That's not what it's about. What it's about is, if you're in the potential market for something, doesn't it make sense to give somebody on the team an up to bat to see what their process, their service, how the whole thing works, whether you buy from them or not, whether they're the perfect fit for you or not, that'll be determined when you go through the process. But at least you'll have that experience of working with them, and hopefully it's a good one. And if it's a good one, you become even a better advocate and better able to refer them, because you've become a client of theirs. So, you know, it's kind of that fine balance between, like for myself, I try to use everybody's products and services when I can too. But I'm not trying to be a martyr over it, right? I'm not going to go spend 12 times more just to work with somebody on the team if they're that far priced out of the marketplace.
Right. Exactly.
It still has to make sense. Well, Heidi Kussurelis, you have been just a wealth of knowledge, and I know your Ann Arbor team is just a huge fan of yours. You're one of those names that when people say it, like I hope when they say my name, good feelings come about just naturally. And when you have an army of people that have good feelings when they hear your name, you really built a tribe for yourself. And I'm also really glad to have you as the keynote speaker at the member breakfast on July 20th. You were the keynote speaker at the first Referraltopia in Ann Arbor a few years ago. So I know you're going to have some great stuff to help everybody kind of sharpen their axes and their pencils, and get back to business this second half of the year. Make the second half of 2022 a fantastic second half.
Yeah, I'm going to come with some great tips and just little things that you can do. Like I said, it's just the little things sometimes can make all the difference. So,
yep, the little things do make all the difference. And thanks for all those little things that you do to make a big difference on our Caerusnet team and in Caerusnet. Heidi,
thanks, Steve.
Really appreciate you a ton.
As well.
Okay, well, thanks for this time today, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the breakfast in a couple weeks.
Looking forward to it.
All right, thanks, Heidi.
Thanks, Steve.